Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Game Dev London podcast, where we have for you two interviews, slightly smaller interviews because we were recording at EGX this year. And the first of those will be our host, Gianluca, with guest Francesco of River Tales. And the second will be our special guest host, Trista Bites, with her guest, Spencer, and his game Rhythm Towers. I hope you enjoy.
Thanks, Francesco, for coming to talk to us about your game. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, about what you're working on, about your team, and how it's been?
Thank you, Gianluca, for having me. I can tell you about how everything started with River Tales. Our studio is called Kid Onion Studio, and it's a studio that was founded by me and Gabriele. We are best friends since we were 6 years old, so we met at school. And what happened is that we have done two different paths in life because I was doing animation, so I was working for TV as a concept artist and art director, while he was studying astrophysics. And at some point, we were, I think, a bit tired of working in an industry because I was working in a big company, and he was also doing a job that he wasn't really happy about. So we 2 years ago we sit and we decided, okay, let's make a company and let's try to make a game. So we basically started from scratch. We didn't have any knowledge about game design or Unity, even the software. So we decided to embark in a bigger adventure than what we were having before. So yeah, that's the story overall.
Wow, that's pretty unique path into making games. What you have now is pretty polished looking. Like, it looks nice. I assume your team has grown since it was just you two, or is it just you two that have made the whole thing?
So the core team is me and Gabriele. So you can think of us 24 hours per day working on it. Then, of course, to have that level of polishing that we are looking for, we have called an animator, which is called Amedeo Beretta, and he's a great 3D animator. So he's taking care of all the animation of the game. And also we have Maddalena, which is a very good modeler. She's helping us doing the characters. We have Anna. So we have a team that is made out of us and then freelancers that are helping us with all the rest. Like Marco is here at the festival and he's doing the marketing for us. He's doing a great job. So overall, we expand depending on the needs. So we go from 2 to 5, 6. We are quite flexible right now because it's our first project. We need to be flexible in the development. We cannot commit right now having a big studio because we need to release the first game before doing that.
Okay, that's a really unique story. I think I'm assuming when you first started, like you first were coming up with an idea or prototyping or whatever it might be, you had a lot of challenges along the way. Is there anything that leaps out to you, like something that you found particularly difficult about breaking into games, like trying to make a game without maybe a lot of development experience?
We faced many challenges from the start because we never opened Unity. So that's already a challenge because you think you want to make something, but you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know the engine. You don't know, like, sometimes you think that your imagination is much faster than what you can do with your hand, especially if you don't have a skill set. So that was the main challenge, like trying to keep down the expectation that we had from the game, because it's so easy to just sit on a table and start having ideas, and it's so easy to embark in a journey which is much bigger than what you can do actually. So it's like keeping the expectation low when you start is so hard. So that's one of our main challenge. We are lucky enough that me and Gabriele, we balance each other. So when he gets too excited, I stop him, and likewise on the other side. So we have managed to keep the scope of the game small for our skill set. But yeah, sometimes we tend to embark in things that are slightly bigger than what we can do at the moment. I hope it's not going to be like that in the future.
Well, I feel like that's something a lot of developers experience, really, right? They start off, particularly indies, they start off with like a really great idea that they have to manage the expectations of and like control the scope. What I mean, like I said, what you have now seems, when I played it, seemed pretty put together, polished, exactly what you wanted, and that's the best way to achieve those desired results, is to keep it tight and keep it simple and keep it exactly what you're looking for. Um, so it's interesting that you say you've got all these team members kind of working alongside you in a freelance manner. What was the process to bringing those people on board? Were they also like friends, or did you recruit them through LinkedIn, meet them through industry events? How did that happen?
It's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking, because uh, uh, many people of the team, I have met them in animation studios before. So in the past 10 years, I was working with people, and of course, in 10 years, you meet people that you trust, and maybe you have worked with them on a different project, like modelers or animators like Amedeo, and you trust them. You know they are very trustworthy. They if they embark on a project, they love it. Like, they don't just do it for just for the money, but also because they are passionate about what they are doing. So one of the main questions was, do you like the project? If the answer was yes, we were proposing to work in the project. So we were aiming that for people that really liked what we were doing. So we know already half of the team. Also, we had Catherine, which is a coder, junior coder, and we didn't know her, but she reached out on email saying that she loved the project and she wanted to help us coding the game, and that was enough for us to interview her and to have her on the team. So yeah, usually we see if the person in front of us really likes what we are doing, and it's one of the main thing that we ask for.
That's interesting. You're saying like that basically passion comes first. If they're passionate about what you're working on, then that's a big part of why you brought them on board. Which I think a lot of developers would agree that that's one of the most important things in getting a high quality team that is willing to put the effort in to make it not just good but as good as it can be, whatever you're working on. Another question I was going to ask. It's interesting that you mentioned about how some people are just you mentioned about finances, basically.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what your experience was with financing developing a game like this. So I'm assuming that, it started off as just you and your friend deciding we want to make games. But how did the finances behind that translate into what you have now, which is a finished product at EGX, which also isn't particularly cheap to come into. So what happened what was the path?
So, Gianluca, this is a great question, because we have tried everything. So we have started with Gabriele with our savings. So what we have done is that, okay, let's put an amount of money, me and him, and let's finance the first 6 months of production, because also, like, it's quite expensive to animators on board. Also, we want to pay fairly the artists that work with us. So we said, okay, we have 6 months just to uh, auto finance the game. So that was our money. We started with our money. It was a great risk. It was scary. It still is. So I'm being honest, because if game devs hear this, I would like from another game devs to hear that it's scary, because it is most of the time it is. Then we have been lucky enough to be funded on Kickstarter. So we have launched a campaign of Kickstarter that made us like 15,000. And we managed to have a bit more artists on board and to survive for let's say, other 6-7 months. So we were paying artists, and likely enough, after this, a publisher has contacted us. Actually, a couple of publishers. We have decided the best publisher, the one that was respecting what we wanted to do with the game, and then the publisher is helping actually us with the finances, with some marketing. So, for example, it's thanks to Gravity Game Arise, which is a Japanese publisher, which is now our partner. That's thanks to them that we are here at the EGX. They are taking care of these financial expenses. So it's not from our wallet anymore. They are taking care of the marketing. Of course, there is some revenue share at the end, but yeah, it's part of the game, right? Is how it works. They are really helping us with the testing, which is something we cannot afford at the moment. We couldn't afford before. So yeah, from the finances, we have our savings pot, then we have some Kickstarter, some crowdfunding, and also a publisher. In 1 year, we have tried all of them. And yeah, it's a learning process, right?
So the development it's only been 1 year since you started.
The official one is a bit more, 16 months. But I have quit the job officially on July, also Gabriele, July last year. So let's say, yeah, around 1 year, 16 months. Because when we started working on the project, we had already a job and we were working in the evening and weekends. So we went full time 1 year ago, more or less.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty rapid. That's pretty fast and impressive, I guess, from my perspective. So well done. I was also going to say about the how the Kickstarter experience is probably quite different to what a lot of other developers have tried before. I mean, I know a little bit about like Kickstarter marketing and things like that, but how did you begin that journey of like, we want to try and crowdfund on Kickstarter? And in turn, how did you succeed? Because clearly you did. I mean, getting 15 grand is very respectable on Kickstarter for a small like project that's your first one. So tell us about the story behind Kickstarter, what happened with that, how it developed into what you obtained.
About the Kickstarter, with Gabriele, we thought it was the first option because we didn't think the publisher was an option. Even because everybody says, you cannot have a publisher on the first game, it's not gonna happen. There is a lot of things of this like around. If you ask people, they say your first game is not gonna be published. We found this that was not true. Like it didn't happen to us, and also the money that we had as a saving, it was not enough to cover the whole year of production. So it was actually the only option that we had to finance the product that we wanted to make. It was very hard to put together a campaign. We had to postpone it. We had a date, and we had to ask people to wait a bit more. And I think we postponed on 1 month because we were not ready. We realized even if we were working all day, we were not ready to launch the campaign. People like supporters, the people who were following us on social, were very understanding. They say, guys, take all the time you need. So the community was amazing with that. They really gave us some support when we decided to postpone. And then the launch was so stressful. Like, if I would go back, I realized that we have made so many. You can put like different levels of Kickstarter. I don't know. I think I don't remember the tiers. Yeah, you can do the tiers. And I think because it was our first game, in the back of our mind, we thought the game itself was not enough to sell. So we have done the mistake, I think, to put too many tiers because we wanted to satisfy everybody. And I think right now, thinking about it, we thought the game was not enough back in our mind. So we were trying to put stickers and posters and everything. And I think that backfired a bit because organizing the shipment of all the stuff that's not digital is a different job. It's so hard. So if some dev that wants to do a Kickstarter right now and is listening to this, I would say trust your game. Don't try to put so much merchandising because it's gonna backfire. And if the game is good enough, it's gonna be even one tier with the game is gonna be enough. We have done 12 tiers, and going back, we will do it differently. So yeah, this is a little experience that we had.
I think that's a good lesson. Yeah, no doubt. I've seen Kickstarters that have suffered from similar problems, so I'm not surprised that that's something you experienced. One thing you mentioned was the fact that you had a community, that your supporters that were willing to wait for the launch. And I think this is something a lot of people who are investigating Kickstarter don't think about, is to have a successful launch, you kind of need a community already. It's not that the Kickstarter gives you the community; it's the other way around. So it clearly was successful, and you had that community beforehand. How did you end up building that community? Was it like a Discord server or social media, Instagram? Were you sharing amongst just friends and family, or how did you basically build that initial audience that you could then market the Kickstarter to?
This is a question that I know it happened, but Marco, which is not here right now, he's at the stand, but he's the guy who took care of all the marketing part since we started the project. So he used a lot of Instagram, and we were promoting stories of the game, even of the development of the game. So Instagram played a great part on it. Then we started with Instagram. Already starting with the social is enough work. So we started with Instagram. Then we jumped into Twitter. Then we jumped into LinkedIn. So we started like every 2 weeks we were launching a new social media. And also we were reaching out to all YouTube channels, small, big, anything that could give our game coverage. We did that for like 4 months. I think at least 6 months is what you should aim to have before launching a Kickstarter, because as you said very exactly, is that Kickstarter doesn't build a community. You should have the community before. And yeah, then after that we opened the Discord. We opened the Discord 1 month before the Kickstarter. And yeah, like it takes time to build a community. I think we are still working on that. And yeah, to have big numbers, like you need at least 1-2 years of constant posting and keeping people updated, replying to all their texts on the mailbox. So uh, that was what we have done. It's pretty simple. Like it's not anything crazy. It's just trying to post 3 times a week on your social media pages. So yeah, that was the strategy.
Being consistent, ultimately.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
I think, well, it's been a great conversation. I think as a final question, I'd say, is there any like one major? I mean, you've come from the very ground up, really, with this game, and it's your first game, so you've clearly, I'm sure, learned loads of lessons along the way. Is there any one lesson that we haven't already mentioned that you would like give to another indie dev who is maybe also starting that journey to reaching the point where you are now with a game here at EGX?
Okay, I have heard many advices and I'm not gonna say start small because we have heard it many times. So I'm gonna say something more personal about. I think I will talk about mental health because it's something that when you embark in this journey, you need to take account of that because there are moments in which making the game is gonna be so frustrating. So I'm gonna say just take care of your mental health as much as possible. That means take breaks because your brain is gonna suffer from trying to make the game always perfect. So I will say try to save some time to take a break, to think what you are doing. Like take some pauses. It's easy not to take pauses for years when you start this journey. So I will say yeah, take some break, take care of yourself a lot because this journey is harder than you think on your brain. Even when you have a partner and you need to keep a good relationship with all the team. And in a stressful moment, if you don't take care of that, you risk to make it all explode. Like that's something that many indie devs don't take account of. Is the emotional budget that you have. It's like you take care of the money, but you don't take care of the emotional budget that you have, and you need to take that in consideration. And also another thing is that accept when it's gonna be frustrating. It's gonna be frustrating a lot of the times. Like people see the glamour, people see the game which is released, and when you see other devs that have a game that which is working at the stand, you think, okay, that seems very easy. But to be honest, it's 90% frustration, and take that in account. Like it's gonna happen. Just accept it. Is the work of acceptance or acceptance, sorry, of the frustration of this job because many times you start and you see the glamour and you think it's gonna be great, and it's great. I love it, but frustration must be taken in consideration when you start. So
Emotional budget, I think, is a great phrase that I'm going to remember. But thank you, Francesco. Tell us where we can find what your game is, where we can find you, where people can find the game, and where they can find the business.
thank you so much, Luca, for the interview. It was so nice to be here. And also, yeah, you can find us on Instagram. We are River Tales the Game. And also, if you want to see more updates, we have a newsletter, which is rivertalesthegame.com. If you go there, you can find everything you may want. We have the link of all our social media. You can contact us. You can contact us if you want to work with us. So if you go to the website, you're going to find whatever you want to find.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Francesco. We had a great time.
Hi, I'm Trista Bites with Game Dev London. We're here at EGX talking to some wonderful indie game developers. Here I have Spencer, and you have got your first ever game here. How's that been?
It's been a hell of a journey. It's been 2.5 years so far working on it, and it's the first time now showing it in public. So, yeah, it's been amazing to get public's feedback and kind of listen to what people like, what they don't like, and just watch them play. It's been amazing. It's been amazing time.
Can you tell us what's your game called? What's it about? Give us a little bit of a rundown on what you've been working on.
Sure. So it's a game called Rhythm Towers, as you can see behind here, and it's basically a combination between rhythm and tower defense. So to build towers, you have to play a little bit of rhythm, and as you do that, it adds some music to the background. So you're effectively layering up the soundtrack as you're building your defenses at the same time.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I love that idea. As someone who likes both tower defense and
Excellent.
rhythm, like you've
game for you
combined them too. And that's not often something that I see as a combined combination. I've seen some things that incorporate sound in there, be them in shooting games, especially like your scrolling shooters or some dungeon crawling games. I've seen that, but I don't think I've seen a tower defense rhythm game before.
Seems to be the first time this has been done, which has been really good because even the way I came up with it was quite unique. So I was effectively playing a tower defense game, but muted the music and had my own music on in the background. But I was kind of tapping along. So there's certain parts in tower defense game where it's a bit quiet, there's nothing going on. Just tapping on, thinking, I wonder if there's something here that I can combine these two somehow, so I'm not so bored in between the waves or waiting for upgrades, and that's kind of how it came about.
That's really cool. You've said that, and now I'm thinking back to my my Quake 3 Arena days, which was a little while ago. But I used to mute Quake 3 Arena, apart from sound effects, and play like loads of like drum and bass and stuff, and it definitely changed how I played.
It was drum and bass actually that I was listening to when I got the inspiration to do this. So yeah.
There we go. So drum and bass, actually the soundtrack to games that we've all been missing.
Yes, apparently so, yes.
Yeah. So that just kind of worked its way naturally into what you were doing. Did you envision people playing along to different types of music, or mostly that fast-paced stuff?
So basically, the way I got started, I was using a game engine called Dreams for the PS4, which is kind of like, it lets you make your own little games. It's almost like a sandbox game maker. So I thought if I throw something together in that pretty quickly, that I can get some people to try it and see if I have a good idea here. So I made it in about a couple of weeks using Dreams, sent it to a few friends, put it on the Dreamiverse, got some amazing feedback, and thought, okay, I'm onto something here, so I'll crack open Unreal Engine and do it properly. And the first music I put in there was drum and bass, but for people to try it out and get a feel for it, it's a little bit too quick for them. So I had to slow it right back down to some kind of lo-fi hip-hop that's just a little bit easier to play, and that's what the demo is right now. So in the full game, there will be a full range of genres, from hip-hop all the way up to dubstep and drum and bass. So the difficulty of the game is anchored by the tempo of the music. So you'll start with quite a low tempo. By the end of the game, you'll be tapping away at furious pace.
I like the fact that allows you to change your style of gameplay and your style for your own personal taste in music. But that's also a really good way of sort of naturally incorporating both difficulty grading and accessibility grading, because you're choosing the music and that changes the way the game plays. Was that intentional, or just does that come back naturally?
So I wanted to basically have different themed levels as well. So effectively effectively or environments that are tied to genres. So once you're playing a certain genre, the look and feel will match the music that you're playing. So you're effectively traversing through this alien world, and every time you see a different look, you can expect to hear some different music. That also means that later on, once the game's released, I can add additional level packs that will also include new music and new characters and all of that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. How are you working with musicians? Are you licensing music, or are you getting custom music made for this one?
So right now I'm having to do it myself because with everything else in the game, I'm doing it myself. But at the moment, there is a guy that I'm working with who's doing some house music because I don't know how to make house music. So he's doing that. So there'll be a demo coming out in February on Steam, and that will hopefully have this guy's music in there as well, which would be great. But then also, while I've been at EGX, there has been a few composers that have come to play, and offering up their services and telling me the different genres that they use that they would like to see in the game as well. So hopefully I'll be working with some freelance composers as well. The idea for licensed music won't come until later. I didn't want there to be any barriers in terms of stopping development because I need to work with music publishers and that. So ideally indie musicians to begin with, and then later on once the game's out, then maybe start talking to some music publishers and see if they want to get some licensed music in there as well.
That's an awesome collaborative thing. So you're not just getting feedback on your game, which seems like it's been pretty positive for the most part, but you're also finding more people to work with. As a developer, how are you finding that networking process in here? How fun has it been with people actually just coming up to you and offering to work with you?
Well, the thing is, I thought I would have to be dragging people in to come, please come and play my game, but luckily, people are just walking up, seeing the video that's playing and say, oh, can I play? And they're just getting started straight away, which has been really, really good. And the collaborative process is something that I've had a few people kind of say, what about if you have a music creation mode in the game where people can kind of just create their own beats, create their own melodies, share them with their friends, that kind of thing. So that's something that I would like to put in there as well, for sure.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of expanding it as well. I like how people are building
community
their
input.
own world.
Yes, for
Definitely.
Sure. Yes.
So this is your first game. You said that you started developing it in Dreams.
Mhm.
Had you started learning any coding languages or done any previous development at all?
Oh, so my background is in software engineering. I've been programming for 20 years, so I have all of that experience is well taken care of. But the side I didn't have anything of was the creative side. So a few years ago, I had to basically learn how to draw, how to paint, how to sculpt, how to animate, all of that kind of stuff because I wanted to make my own game. So I had to just basically build up the creative skills to match my technical skills so I could make the game that I've always wanted to make.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you had a technical background, but it
Yes.
wasn't in game development, and you've just leveraged that
Yes,
and moved it across.
Yes, exactly.
How did you pick Dreams? Was it just something you happened to have been playing around in
Well,
at the time?
it was basically at the lowest barrier to entry. I didn't want to have to open up Unity or something or Unreal and spend months potentially to get something playable. And even when I did that, you put it on the internet, someone downloads it, and you get all these warnings about, do you want to run this, software that no one's trusted? So I thought with Dreams, it's very pick up and play. With the Dreamiverse, effectively, people are just looking for cool little things to try. So it just seemed at the time, because Dreams was kind of popular at the time I was doing this, it just seemed like the right thing to take advantage of.
Yeah, I think it's a very smart way to do things. Prototyping in that
Yes.
smaller way,
Yes.
I think you've done it like absolutely the optimal way. And it's interesting to see that somebody who had all the technical skills background still opted for a fast prototyping model.
Oh, of course, because the worst thing that I would have done is spent a couple of years, hunched down, so just tunnel vision, just working away, not getting any feedback. I wanted feedback immediately. I wanted feedback within a week to know if it's fun, if people enjoy it, if they enjoyed it. What do they enjoy about it? How can I lean into that and make it even better based on player feedback? And this is something I've learned throughout my career. It's all well and good making something that you think is good, but eventually it's ready for other people. And that's what's been so great about coming here is seeing other people play, seeing their faces light up when they start feeling the music and you see them kind of bopping along as they're playing the game. It's made the whole thing just worth it, for sure.
Yeah, and we see a lot of people who are new to game development, who are looking to get into game development, and they worry a lot. What engine should I learn? What should I learn to build in? And you're here, and you know all of the tech, and you know all of the programming, and you're saying fast prototyping, use something like Dreams, use Game Maker, use one of those systems.
Use pen and paper if you have to. Just if you can get the idea across to someone in the way that they can intuitively understand it and explain it to somebody else, you're already on your way. Don't get hung up on, even people get hung up on the name of their game. They'll spend weeks thinking, I need the perfect name. The original name of this was something like Project Dumpling, just because I was eating dumplings at the time. So that was a very quick way of just getting the name out of the way so I can move on to the next bit. So yeah, just quick iteration, just kind of moving through the things that people spend a lot of time on just quickly and just getting something playable as quickly as you can.
But now I want dumplings, so thank you for that.
No problem.
That's so true, though. You don't want to get too hung up. I am somebody who will come up with an idea. I'm a Twitch streamer, I'm a presenter, I do a lot of creative comedy stuff, and I'll come up with an idea, but I'll be at like iteration 50 in my idea, and then I try and make iteration 50. I'm like there, and I'm like, right, I've got this idea, I've got a show, I want it to be a stage show, I want to do this. Do you know what? It needs 500 custom illustrations now. Why didn't I start this as just text?
Yes.
And you're showing exactly why the way my brain wants to do things is wrong. Start it simple, start it small.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you don't get to polish. The way the game looks now, I'm very proud of how it now looks in terms of how polished it looks, but it hasn't been like that for most of the time. It has looked very ugly and kind of, the focus has been on the gameplay mechanics. If it's fun to play, most people don't care what it looks like, and you can kind of add all of that stuff afterwards.
Yeah, the looks of a game could definitely hook people in,
Sure.
and people could fall in love with the
That's
art.
what people, when they're walking past, it's the looks that are drawing them in. The bright colors and the saturated lights and the animation, that's what's getting people interested. And then they sit down and realize, there's actually a really good game here as well. So yeah, it's good to have both, but you definitely don't need the good looking stuff at the beginning.
Not to start with, because if the game doesn't work, it doesn't matter how good it looks.
Exactly. Some people still manage to pull it off, but it's not my style.
No, and starting with that core mechanic, I think is a good fun way of doing it,
Yes.
because then you're effectively skinning it with the best art that suits the product as it's developing, rather than being led by trying to choose a particular genre or a particular look for the game. So that's quite a nice way, I think, of naturally evolving something and getting a really good product.
Well, yeah, it's actually from people playing it that then the art style came out afterwards. So because it's a music-based game, the suggestions that I got in terms of how to make the game look interesting was to lean into the music theme. So the towers that you build are actually musical instruments.
Okay.
They're combinations of instruments and weapons together to kind of use the power of music to kind of theme the whole rest of the game. Yeah, even the story came out of the back of that. So now the story is the characters that you're playing as are a failed alien pop group that could never make it in the big time by, showing their skills on the stage, but their manager has roped them into some paid work instead. So, his heart's in the right place, but, he doesn't really know what he's doing. So that's how they've ended up in this situation.
Yeah.
But again, this came out of the game mechanics rather than the story coming first.
And that guarantees that your story works with the world you've built as well.
Exactly.
You
They
don't
then
have
start
that
going-
thing. Yeah, you're not trying to lever anything in. It's there naturally.
Exactly. They naturally complement each other, for sure. And some of the suggestions that people have been making while they've been here is asking, why don't you have some, musical instruments in the background that are kind of pulsing into the music as well? Have it as a real musical world through and through. So I'm definitely taking a lot of feedback from that as well and adding to the art style even more.
Yeah, have clouds in the shape of different music notes and things. There's so many things you can do.
You've got the same idea. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I look at things a lot with a visual eye. Obviously, if it work like game doesn't work, then I'm not going to play it. But I do because I have a graphic design background, so I look at things with a visual eye. So I look at it and I'm like, the clouds could represent the music notes, or the wind could move with the speed of the tempo, and I kind of come from that kind of background.
Well, you're going to have a play and give me all of this feedback then, because it sounds like very, very useful stuff that I need to hear.
Yeah, and I looked at that. I mean, I saw it when I walked past before. I would never have guessed that was a one-person game.
Right,
It does not look like that. I was thought you were going to say, there's 5 of us. I am absolutely in awe of how much you've achieved already.
Well, thank you. That's a really nice compliment, but at the same time, it's quite a sadistic endeavor as well. So I wouldn't recommend it if I had have known at the beginning how much work it was going to be. I probably would have picked something a bit less ambitious, but now that I'm here, there's no turning back.
Yeah, and you can always bring, like you said, you're going to bring on more musicians potentially
Exactly,
to work
yes,
on things.
and artists and all kinds of things like that, for sure. But the main thing was I wanted to be able to see what I could do by myself. With the availability of game engines and software now, there really isn't a lot of barriers to entry, so you really can get started. It's really your imagination and your patience that are going to be getting in your way, and luckily I have those in spades.
It's good to hear, and they are things that are needed as well. Determination, imagination,
Oh, yes,
patience,
for sure.
possibly a lot of coffee.
I mean, I actually don't drink coffee, so maybe that could be something else that I can leverage. That I don't need the caffeine boost to get the energy going.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee either. I'm just so used to saying that in interviews now because almost everyone else runs on energy
It
drinks.
seems so, yes. Yeah, I mean, I've smelled every variety of energy drink while I've been here this week, so I'm experiencing smells and sensations that I never would have imagined.
Yeah, that's an interesting review of EGX.
Yes.
Smells and sensations you never would have imagined.
Yes, that would be my summary of this week, yes.
That's cool. A long weekend, lots of hours you put in here today. I'm really glad that you've been getting some good feedback. What would you say is the one thing you would suggest to other people who want to showcase their games? Maybe they're too nervous because it's their first game. What would you say to them?
Well, I'm actually here as part of the Tentacle Zone, and what they do is they help indie developers come to events like this by providing space a lot cheaper. So if you are looking to come to EGX, or I think they also do WASD and EGX Res, reach out to the Tentacle Zone. They can help you out, get a booth, provide the hardware, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if that's what you want to do, then that was my entry to here. It was my first time showing the game in public, and I wouldn't have done it any other way the first time.
Yeah, and you have some amazing tentacles, so it makes people easy to find.
People
as well.
are using it as a meeting point, so meeting at the tentacles seems to be something I'm hearing a lot, and then people are standing around and they see the game, and yeah, it draws people in that way as well.
I like that. Smells and sensations you've never experienced before, and giant tentacles. I feel we've moved genre into anime here.
Yes, it seems so. It's back away slowly, I think.
Definitely. Well, I'm glad you had a really good experience here. And where are you going to be taking the game next? Are you going to do more showcasing with it, or are you going back to the drawing board a bit?
Well, I'm actually part of a game incubator. It's called Game BCN, based in Barcelona, and they're having a demo day next month. So I'll be taking the game over there next month to pitch to a panel of publishers and investors, and hopefully get some funding to take the game to the next level.
It's awesome, and I'm glad to see that your dream is coming to reality, and that you can just come up with an idea whilst playing a different game on mute, listening to some drum and bass, which apparently is the combo to go for.
Yes, I would say so, yes. People need to listen to more drum and bass. That would be my advice.
More drum and bass, less coffee, more tentacles.
Yes. That would be a good summary, yeah.
I think we've got a little bit weird, so I may just leave it at that point there, but hopefully this has been some good advice for any other budding game developers. What you're doing is amazing. Thank you so much for bringing it here.
Oh, thank you for your time.
Where can people find you online if they want to play a demo of your game?
So you can find Rhythm Towers on Steam right now, where you can wishlist it. There will be a demo on Steam in February as part of the next fest. You can search Rhythm Towers or go to rhythmtowers.com, or search on social media on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. So yeah, all over the place. Just search Rhythm Towers and you'll find it.
Awesome. Well, and obviously we have groups here in London, Game Dev London being one of them. So if you're ever here, you want to do some more stuff, then look us up. And anyone who's looking into getting into their gaming as well, find some groups like us and get involved. You may end up with giant tentacles over your game.